I absolutely love Scrubs. I simply adore this show. It is what I think is the greatest show ever made in history. And with that being said, I was very excited last night to watch the 2 episode premiere of season 10. Interesting, isn't it, actually? Because for the longest time, we kind of wanted to pretend that season 9 didn't even exist, but since they call the new season season 10, I guess that makes season 9 canon now, doesn't it? Very interesting choice. But here's what I'll tell you. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to show you any footage of the new episodes for copyright reasons, so instead, enjoy this behind the scenes video playing in the background. Now, the show is actually getting a lot of hate, believe it or not. And in some ways, it does capture the essence of the original show, and in some ways, it doesn't. There are some ways that it fails. The first thing is, a lot of people are saying that it's very woke. And in a lot of ways, I'm going to say kind of, but no, and here's why. First of all, when we look, we already know that every show since 2012 is woke SJW. Everything has to have politically correct jokes and commentary in it, right? This is everywhere. So, in general, like, if you compare this on its own, or you compare it to the original 8 seasons, yes, it is more woke, obviously. But if you compare it to shows of the last 15 years, I'm gonna say, no, not really. I mean, at the end of the first episode, they actually mention the male loneliness epidemic. Now, of course, they don't go on and talk about it, which is a good thing. Even though they mention a fact, for once, I don't actually want them to be political, even if it's factual, because I'm trying to watch a comedy show. I don't want the real world in my face, even when it's true, okay? So I'm actually happy. But the thing is, they at least mentioned it in a joking manner, but still, at least it was mentioned. Additionally, Dr. Cox, in the first episode, blatantly refers to the interns as fragile Christmas ornaments, because they were talking about how he has to train the interns, but he has to watch his mouth, and therefore he called them fragile Christmas ornaments, poking fun at the idea that they are sensitive, woke SJWs who can't handle a joke, or Dr. Cox's typical anger. So in those ways, it's actually anti-woke. But outside of that, yes, there were a few woke jokes here and there, but honestly, there wasn't very many of them, and even the ones that they did make weren't big jokes at all. Like I said, you still had Dr. Cox being himself, angry. For the most part, we'll get into that in a minute. We have them mentioning the male loneliness epidemic, like I said earlier. And you even had the Todd being the Todd. The only thing he said that could even be considered woke is he said something like, I like being plowed, or something like that. I forgot the line. And then he said, and then these girls looked at him like, angry, and he went, with consent. But that's not, saying with consent isn't really woke. I wouldn't call that woke. I mean, it's mild censorship for the Todd, but as far as I'm concerned, that's actually just part of the joke. So I'm okay with the amount of woke I saw, because there wasn't very much of it. What they did say wasn't like in your face. They weren't, shoving it down your oh, sorry, he said right there, he said going deep. Anyway, with consent. So anyway, it's not shoved in your face, it's not shoved down your throat, it's not taking over the whole episode. It's fine. Now, does that mean that episode 3 and beyond won't be even more woke? Possibly. Most likely, because, again, it's 2026, but I'm not going to make another video review, so let's just pretend that everything I say applies to only the first 2 episodes. So anyway, what else happens? We get some great references in the first episode. I loved seeing Elliot and JD and Turk and Carla and Dr. Cox again. And that was very quickly stripped from me, because in episode 2, we don't see Carla or Dr. Cox at all. Which, in some way, actually makes this worse than Season 9, because if Season 9 only had one redeeming quality, and it did, it's the fact that Dr. Cox is the main character in Season 9. He's in every single episode, all 13 of them, and his anger is actually pushed up a notch in order to compensate for the fact that Season 9 is dog shit. But in the second episode, we don't get him at all, so that's not very good. So I did not like episode 2 pretty much for that reason. I did hear before that characters like Jordan, the janitor, Dr. Cox, and Carla were only going to be side characters, and the only mains are going to be JD, Turk, and Elliot. But again, that's actually a step down from season 9, believe it or not, specifically because of Dr. Cox. But I have the right to say that because he's literally the fan favorite character. Speaking of fan favorite character, what made him fan favorite? His anger. And I know that they put it as part of the story why he can't be angry, because again, he has to tone down himself. He literally says that himself. And then there's like this HR woman who keeps going, Dr. Cox, bring it down, bring it down. And it's like, he listens to her, which is so out of character for him. And then there's a part where he has a very emotional moment with JD and how he wants JD to be the chief of medicine. He wants JD to come back to Sacred Heart. He wants to work with JD again. But it's very much unlike Dr. Cox. You could say, oh, it's growth and everything, but it doesn't even feel like his character anymore. Additionally, that emotional moment where he's talking about how he misses JD and he's even calling him JD, not a girl's name, and just all these things that Dr. Cox never does, didn't even feel organic. One of the things that made the original show the masterpiece that it was is that Bill Lawrence was so good, they found a way to take drama and comedy and mix them together where they never felt awkward, because the writing was that good. The comedy never felt out of place with the drama, and the drama never felt awkward with the funny moments because they were written together so well. The drama always felt organic and like they had genuine feelings. But in this episode, where Dr. Cox is talking about how he misses JD, he wants him to come back and all that stuff, it honestly felt forced. It didn't feel like an organic conversation. The emotions that Dr. Cox was showing, by the way, being the second time he ever cried, or at least teared up, it didn't have, like, remember the first time he cried was at the end of season 5, episode 20, the episode My Lunch, where he accidentally killed 3 patients. There was a tear in his eye, and you as the viewer really felt that. But I didn't feel shit during this conversation with JD. It felt so unorganic. Like, he hadn't seen JD in years, right? But then is instantly like, oh, I miss you, and I want you to be the chief of medicine. I want you to come back and work with me as my intern, and now I'm going to cry about it. Like, it just felt so fake and forced, like any other show, and it didn't feel like it had that Scrubs feel to it. Oh, I gotta stop here on the video. Rest in peace, Sam Lloyd. Okay, so another thing, by the way, speaking of rest in peace, is there was technically a tribute to Ken Jenkins, aka Bob Kelso, but again, it really felt disrespectful. First of all, it didn't even feel consistent. If you recover in season 7, when Bob Kelso retired, he took that painting on the wall of himself with him, and then all of a sudden that same painting reappears in the hospital. What? It's like, what? Did they just go and steal it from Bob Kelso's house? Or was it repainted? Like, what was the idea here? At this point now in the show, there were 2 paintings, one of Bob Kelso and one of Dr. Cox. And you can see the paintings of both of them in the background of about 5 or 6 shots, but it's not until the second episode where JD actually goes and acknowledges the Dr. Cox painting because he wanted to, like, speak to Dr. Cox about being the chief of medicine. And the Kelso painting is right beside him, and in both episodes, they don't acknowledge Kelso's painting at all. Not even once. So it's like, you have both of their paintings there as a tribute, but then you don't even glance at it. You only see it in the background of shots that are unrelated. I honestly felt like that was just blatantly disrespectful to Ken Jenkins, to be honest with you. Oh, I just remembered something else. Back to the whole thing about if it's woke or not. Sorry, I know it's out of order, but I'm trying to do everything on the spot. So, in the beginning of the first episode, there's even a joke about white princesses, and again, even though that joke may sound woke, it's really not, and it actually worked with the scene, and it was kind of funny. Like, that joke worked. It wasn't really that bad. So that's why I don't feel like the wokeness stuff really impacted the show. At least not yet. We'll see how much worse it gets in episode 3. But anyway, moving on. Another thing is, I actually didn't hate the intern characters. To be fair, I didn't really like them either, but one thing about them that is good is that they're at least better than the interns from season 9. Because the interns in season 9 took over way too quickly, they were very forced, and quite frankly, really, really obnoxious. But these characters, again, they will probably be in the forefront once we get into further episodes. But if we focus just on the first 2 episodes, it's interesting how they actually get a lot of screen time, but they still feel like background characters at the same time. I think they balanced it really well to where they actually got a large amount of screen time, but they didn't feel like they did. Do you understand what I mean? It's almost like they had the balance of Turk, JD, and Elliot, and the interns mixed just well enough to where it won't bother you, but where you also still get a good idea of who they are and who they will be in the future episodes, and I thought that was really good. And if there's anything else I really liked, it's the set. You're seeing it right here in this video, and I think they did great. Their goal was to, because as you know, after season 8, the entire hospital was destroyed. They had to break everything down, and they rebuilt the hospital, although they didn't rebuild the hospital in and of itself. Apparently it was done in the warehouse and they just built certain segments. But the point is, they still rebuilt it and they did a really good job. Like, I remember the original look of the hospital and this one, and most of it, I would say like 95%, is pretty much exact to how it was in the original show. So if there's one thing that they did a fantastic job with, it was rebuilding the hospital. They did a great job. Everything looks fantastic. All of the little Easter eggs with like the gift shop and like the paintings on the wall, it all fits really, really well, and I was happy to see that. But as you can see, there are some things I like and some things I really don't. I don't know if episode 2 is going to be the direction they take for the remaining episodes, because I thought episode 2 was way worse, especially because of the characters who didn't appear, like Carla and Dr. Cox. And that's not the direction I want. I really want it to feel like the original show. I want the fan favorite character to be a focus, and I don't think he will be. And even if he is, like I said earlier, it really feels like Dr. Cox is going to be censored, which is basically a crime. Like, what makes Dr. Cox his character is that he's meant to be an asshole. He's meant to be in your face, right? He's meant to go on those funny rants. But every time he tried to in the first episode, you had that HR girl going, bring it down, and then being overly emotional with JD felt out of character. Not just the scene itself feeling forced, but even as a character, it felt out of character for him. And I just don't think the writing is up to the first 8 seasons, which, yes, you do expect on a reboot of a show, especially a modern reboot of a show. But unfortunately, that's just the way it is now. And even the regular jokes throughout the episodes, like not the woke jokes or anything, but just the general jokes, I didn't even find it that funny. It's not because they were being SJW. I just didn't find the jokes that funny. The only parts that were genuinely funny were like references to older episodes, like Eagle or something like that. I really hope there's improvement in episode 3, but again, because it's a modern reboot, I'm not going to hold my breath, but maybe I'm wrong. I found pretty much everything involving the Todd to be funny, so that was nice. I found, though, 2 rants that Dr. Cox went on to be funny as well. But anyway, overall, I'm going to give this show like a 6 out of 10. I'm not exactly disappointed, but I'm not really happy either. I just feel very meh. Anyway, as some of you may or may not know, I did already make a video on Scrubs when I talked about how in the modern release on streaming services, they censored 3 of the episodes for blackface. Absolutely hilariously stupid. Check out this old video I made. It's called Scrubs is Offensive Now. I made it 4 years ago. I talk about the censored episodes and just the show in general. If you want to get a better idea of how the show is, checking out this video might help you. Anyway, if you're a Scrubs fan, let me know what you thought of the first 2 episodes. See you later.